Welcome home, all. Welcome back to Supermax Nation. Today is Tuesday. About a week since we were on last. Had a when the facility wasn't available through the weekend from I want to say Thursday into the weekend. So we're back Tuesday. We should be fine for the remainder of this month on the Tuesday and the Thursday going forward. And for those of you that have been watching, friends and family that love me and show up and pay attention and listen, it will be consistent going forward, at least for the Tuesdays and Thursdays. And or if I decide to do additional shows or topical shows that cover something specific that isn't predicated on like timeline or like, hey, this happened today or what about that, in the Congress that we got to cover. But it can be a topical item. And before I go any further there, I'm going to do that. Before we go any further, I'm going to do that in a way we did last week to talk specifically about ICE and how it affects and how it is influencing and affecting, two best words, Mexican America and Mexicans in general, Mexicans and Americans, Hispanic people, Latin people, etc., all over the country. And then again, back to specifically with Mexican Americans and how they're being affected by, the ICE, let's use a word for hyperbole, but the ICE terrorization of a country, in a way, I'm not going a little far there, but it's only far if it stops and it doesn't continue, meaning it doesn't get worse and it doesn't expand and it doesn't reach all the way across the country, or it doesn't reach to every aspect or parts of our country. And for instance, the period of time that it was that the ICE, and I can't remember the title of the stupid campaign that they called it, into Minnesota. I mean, Minnesota's, basically the center and northern portion of our country. And you have obviously, ICE effort and terrorizing and invading Pacific Southwestern states, obviously California down to Arizona, New Mexico, Texas, etc., for sure. And for the record, the largest Mexican American populations is in those four Pacific Southwest states, right? So from Texas to New Mexico to Arizona to California, the Sun Belt and the Pacific Southwest, those states are the ones predominantly that have the largest Mexican American populations, and not a coincidence. Obviously, ICE is all over that, and other parts of the country. Obviously, and my point is to my effort is to point out that ICE is pretty much all over the country. We're just hearing about it in spurts, depending on how many people they kill that week. Not even, that's not hyperbole. That's true. So you hear about it more. Okay, so topically, I dealt with that as a one-off show. Again, one-off meaning not to mean that I won't touch it again or leave it alone or that's it. I'm not talking about that anymore. No, by far no. It needs to. But I wanted to deal with it in an isolated setting where there was nothing else that I talked about. And it was specifically to do with how ICE is affecting and influencing and terrorizing, invading, etc. America, Mexican America, in particular, because of my background, my ethnicity, and Hispanic America, Latin America at large as a whole, and brown people as a whole. I mean, because brown people aren't just Latin, obviously, it's other different ethnicities and cultures that are affected. So we dealt with that topically, and I'm giving you all that background and layering that so that it's on the table that I've been asked to, it's been talked about, and I will deal specifically with the Trumpstein files and what that has been. And for the record, I did say a few things about that again right prior to the break, right before they were supposed to. Let me put that on there for again, because I think it needs to be hammered home. The Epstein files, as the law was written, this is the law of the country, voted on by the Congress, and signed into law by the president. And let's be clear, you've got the president's sycophants and ass kissers running around saying, oh, he's the most transparent president because he released them. He only released them because he couldn't stop the Congress from doing it. And if you're in tune and smart and not a Trump ass kisser, then you know that he did everything he could, including calling in Lauren Boebert, Marjorie Taylor Greene, and others to stop the vote from releasing the Epstein files. So he did everything he could to not release the Epstein files. When he figured that it wasn't going to happen and they were going to vote and it was going to be released anyway, then he signed it because he had no choice, because he would have looked like the one solely, specifically, the president that did not sign it into law. He didn't want to do that. He signed it into law because the intent was always going to be to drag this out and to basically, take a big dump on it so that it never was released, or it's released in a fashion that it was minimization and damage to how bad it was. So make sure I'm clear, because this goes to the core of what we're going to address today. I'll get that in a second. But the intent was never to release the files. When he had no choice and he had to sign it into law, he did. And then that took forever to actually get it out. The date was, I want to say, and I'm going to need to write this down, but I want to say it was like the second week of December before the Christmas vacation, the holiday break. And it was supposed to be released, all of it was supposed to be released on Friday. So according to the law, and let me interject one more time. For my listeners and viewers, if you're a Trumper, you're probably not listening. If you are, it's because you're trying to be funny, you want to clown, you want to troll. By all means, have fun. Thank you for watching. He wanted to make sure that it was not released. When he had no choice and he had to release, then he turns around and his people turn around and say, look, I'm transparent, I released it. If you believe that, you're stupid. I'm just going to say that. And I have a problem saying the word stupid. I don't like saying it, but stupid is as it does. Yes, Forrest, it is. So if you still believe him that way, then you are stupid. Maybe willingly stupid, maybe not like IQ sub 80 stupid, but you're willingly stupid if you think Donald Trump wanted to release the Epstein files and that he's transparent now because he told you he's transparent, and you're literally a lemming running your mouth, repeating his lies. Then that's on you. And again, you're willingly stupid. Okay, so let me stop there and move forward. It was supposed to be released on, I want to say, the second Friday of December. It could have been the third, but it was either second or third Friday of December. And I remember because we were on the Thursday night, and I said to you, my viewer and listener, be on the lookout, be aware. And I kind of, for those of you that know me well enough, I kind of hinted, like gave you a wink and a nod that I'd be amazed if it was released the next day, because it was supposed to be the Friday. And lo and behold, some of it was released. And let's fast forward to now, the overwhelming majority, the millions of files in total, and they're finding more even as we speak, have still not been released. Yet Donald Trump's lackeys, sycophants, ass kissers are running around saying he's the most transparent president because look at all the files that he's released. The law stated, and be clear, and this goes to tonight's show, the law stated that they were supposed to be released, all of it, on that Friday. And clearly that did not happen. So let's segue into the meat of what we're going to be doing today, because to finish that point, I will be addressing the Trumpstein files in full in a singular Supermax Nation show, either this coming Thursday, or the following Tuesday. I'm not done yet. That's pretty much it. I like being upfront and honest with you. I'm actually transparent. I'll say what I'm doing. I'm not totally done with it because there's so much. And having said that, it's not like they can't release more Tuesday, Thursday, Friday. And now we've, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. And now I've got more to contemplate or to consider and to think about what we released in the form of a show. So I haven't made up my mind yet. I haven't decided yet. But what I have decided is when that show happens, when I do that one, either this coming Tuesday or this coming Thursday or the following Tuesday, it will be specifically on, and not to do with anything else, the Epstein Trump files. That is what it'll be on. I'll devote the entire show just to that. And for the record, there are people that get paid way more, that make way more money, and have more time, money, effort, energy, and resources to basically tackle and to address the Epstein scandal and what is becoming, and I think will be written historically as the largest, most insidious scandal in American presidential history. We're already there, by the way. You can name a bunch of things. Watergate is nothing compared to this. President Bill Clinton getting a blowjob is nothing compared to this. I can go on and on. So it's already there. So I will address it topically, individually, and singularly in one show that is just the Trumpstein files. And that is what I've called it because, again, he is the president. He is in the files more than any other one person other than Epstein. And there's no question in my mind that not only is he hiding, or they are hiding as much as they possibly can. I think there's more out there. I think there's more to be learned. I think there's more that's going to come out. And without going too much further, because we're going to end up making this show about the files. I don't want to. Again, I want to touch it and deal with it directly on its own. But I'm saying all this because I want my viewer, my listener to be educated. I want you to be knowledgeable, informed, even if you don't like what I'm informing you about. All right. Even if you are, a hardcore Trumper and you're watching my show just to find something you can jump on and say something negative about, by all means. But most of you that are going to watch my show and that believe in my form of blatant, honest addressing of an issue or topic from my perspective, you know that I tried to educate and inform, to prepare you and to arm you with the information and the skill set intellectually necessary to handle all of this scandal and material and corruption and all of it. Okay. And so segue again, having said all that, we will deal with it on a one show episode. And as always, not to say that we'll never do anything again about it, but I do want to treat it on its own by itself. And I'll stop there with that. Right. So that'll be either this coming Thursday or the following Tuesday. And it's part of a larger, and now to the meat of our show, which is going to be what we talk about today. That if you're looking at the title, if you're watching the show now and you see the title, it says American Anarchy. And I've been wanting to make this case and to address this in a way that is comprehensible or understandable for people, for viewers. Because as I was just discussing with someone right now, it's like, it's a lot. It's a lot. I get it. I spend too much time paying attention, watching, learning, reading, listening. Try reading more than you're learning, by the way, or listening. Try reading more than you're listening. Listening is easier. I will acknowledge that. But reading requires more intellectual work on your part. And because it's more intellectual work, it's harder. And because it's harder, you may not do it. However, the process of reading articles, stories, and the language is better for you intellectually, cognitively in processing difficult material or processing volume of material. All the Trump corruption, all the stuff that goes on that we don't have time to talk about because it's just too much. Reading about it. And as I say that, I know most of you won't or can't. Fair. But try. It is, just trust me. And I think as I say it, most of you know that. Most of you, it's an understood thing. Reading quality intellectual material, reading quality language is better for the brain than just turning on a podcast and listening. Okay. Including my show here. Okay. I'll do that, including my show. So again, with that all on the table, tonight's show is about providing you, talking about and discussing the tools and the skill set necessary to process and to address, to acknowledge and understand all of what is going on in America today in the form of the lawlessness, the disorder, the blatant disregard for what law is, for what order is, for, I don't even want to say norms. That thing's been overused so much by everybody, but the way things are supposed to be. Let's make that simple. The way things are supposed to be. And for the record, I've never said that America was, 100% great, perfect, the paragon of lack of corruption or injustice. Never said that. We are a flawed country. But for the longest time, we have had far less flaws than most of the other countries. And so we're better that way. And I have said this openly in prior shows, even going back to when I was on radio and then my own stream, or 3, 4, 5 years ago. And they asked how I can be so loyal to a country that treats people like me less than. And I said, because it's still the greatest country with the greatest ability to self-correct, because of the document. If we adhere to it, if we abide by it and we use it, the document being the Constitution, okay? We still have the ability to self-correct. And very few countries really deep, don't get me wrong, there are some, and they're usually Western civilization or civilizationally Western countries. But we have been the one that has that ability the greatest because of our Constitution and the norms and the procedures necessary that have led us to where we are today. Okay. So today we're going to kind of address that elephant in the room that I don't think anybody's really addressing in a substantive, honest way that solves problems forward, not just for right now. Because you could solve a problem right now and feel good about yourself, pat yourself on the back, and then you're gone, and then 5 years that problem crops up again. And what did you really solve? Made yourself feel good. Maybe you look good. Maybe you got clicks, likes, subscribes, all that stuff, right? But did you really solve the problem? Because if the problem continues or persists or regrows, then you didn't actually do that. You didn't actually solve the problem. So here's where I'm going with my title tonight. Anarchy, American Anarchy, the American Anarchy. It's not just that there's anarchy in America. You can generally make the claim that there's anarchy everywhere, right? It is a philosophy, it's a thought, it's a process, it's a thing. There is anarchy everywhere, in every country, in every government, in everywhere. It's those countries that manage to minimize anarchy in its form of lawlessness or disorder. Those countries that are able to minimize it the most are the ones that usually do the best for their citizenry, for regular people. Because the very nature of anarchy is that you as an individual, you don't know what's coming because you can't believe that what they say is going to be the case, or that it's true, or that the rules apply to you and the guy next to you, not arbitrarily, but uniformly. If you're brown and that guy's white, you get the same rules and you abide by the same rules that that guy does. And he has to abide by the same rules you do. Now watch this. American anarchy. We have our own special brand of American anarchy, right? We have our own brand of anarchy. And every country kind of does. I'm not making light of that, but it is a fact, right? Different cultural norms, different belief systems. Some countries are religious. And those things infect or are pervasive in government. We are not, even though that is becoming part of our specific American anarchy. Religious zealotry, and white Christian nationalism is becoming a thing, more of a thing. And I'll point out here, being a scholar that way, two things in particular I'm just going to put out so that they're in your head and your ear. You're here. The Constitution of the United States makes no distinction for religion, a specific religion of any kind in our country. That was the beauty of the Constitution at its inception, at the beginning. Because at the beginning of this country, there were more than a few, multiple religions that could have been the state religion. And we would have become a theocracy that way, meaning a religion running a country, not a country that allows for religion. Because not all people practice the same. Not all people practice the same religion. And at the beginning of this country, there were multiple religions, believe it or not. Because you can make some would make the claim today, stupid people would make the claim today that we're Christian solely in origin. And that's not 100% true. By far, no. The founding fathers, just that initial group, because they had their arguments amongst themselves. And for the record, if you're new here, you don't know, I'm a former U.S. history teacher. So I'm not totally without. I'm not just speaking out of hand, out of turn. The founding fathers and the founding group that put together the Constitution were not just Christian. Christian can be a lot of different religions, by the way. You can be Baptist, you can be Catholic, even though that wasn't normally included because they were their own. Catholicism was the biggest religion at the time in Europe in general. But you can be a variety of Christian practicing religions that have different names. I won't go into all of them now, but I've given you a few there, and that's an example. And let's get to the meat of it. Some of our founding fathers didn't believe in a God at all. Didn't believe in a God at all. They were atheist. Some were agnostic. Some were deists. D-E-I-S-T-S. So, and those are not Christian. I mean, I think without going into too much detail, maybe we'll do that another show. I'll educate you on the different forms of those religions, right? But if I tell you that, and let me just touch on one. Okay, so if you're atheist, obviously you don't believe in a God. You don't believe in God. I think that's a general, simple. I won't pull up the dictionary definition, but people get that. You're atheist. You don't believe in God, right? We had some founding fathers that were that. We had founding fathers that were agnostic, meaning they didn't believe there was a God or not a God. They didn't believe in either. And their principal rationale was because it was not provable. If you believe in God, can you provide me God right now? Can you bring him here and show him to me? You get my point. And I'm not being an ass about that, but that is the rationale. We're dealing strictly on the intellectual here, no emotion, okay? So having said all that, the Constitution makes no distinction for religion. And that is becoming part of this whole thing, this whole concept to now. That is becoming part of our American anarchy as we speak. Those that believe in a Christian religion, and again, there's multiple in forms, and I'm going to use specifically the one, Christian white nationalism, where you believe in Christ, you believe in Jesus Christ, God, and your religion and how you practice it, and that you should be white because this country was founded by white guys, and that those religions should affect or influence and be a bigger part of how the government is run. And this is part of our American anarchy because I believe wholeheartedly, and for the record, watch this. I'm Catholic. And I believe in Jesus Christ and I believe in a God. My own way. I won't get into my religion right now, okay? But raised Catholic, I'm still Catholic. Not a great Catholic like some others, but I am. So I believe in a Christ. I believe in God. But I don't want my beliefs influencing, affecting the rest of this country that way because somebody else thinks that their beliefs are more important than mine. I kind of like it the way the Constitution is set up, where we are tolerant of all religions, but we don't take one as more important or more influential than the other. That leads to chaos. Can you imagine if one religion were predominant and more important, more influential than all other religions in the United States? That can only lead to anarchy on a religious front. Because all those other religions, what are you telling them? Get the hell out? Sorry, that's not going to happen. That can't happen. Not even doable, possible. That's a recipe for anarchy. Okay? On the religious side. So point that out. I'm gonna give you something that is not on the religious side, but on the secular side, meaning the non-religious, regular out there. And just and I heard this today, and it just kind of reconciled with what I wanted to talk about tonight, to try to educate my audience, to try to educate Mexicans in America and Americans in general. And for the record, you guys all know that I've got listeners that aren't just Mexican, but I do have a Mexican perspective. I even have some of those white and black and other people that watch my show literally watch because they want to hear my perspective. Because maybe it's a little different than theirs, but maybe there's the same too. And most of them have figured out, they keep coming back and listening to me because deep down inside, we're kind of all the same, right? We're all human. Listen to some things that make us a little different. Let's listen to things that make us the same, right? And that's just keeping a good mind open. Okay, so I heard this today, and so for some of you guys are going to like, whoa, where did this come from? Left field. But it is relevant because it is cultural and it is current today in America. So for those of you that don't know, I'm a Los Angeles Dodgers fan. Of all the sports, I watch a lot of sports. I was an athlete to a degree growing up, wrestled, ran track, even played football for a year, got beat up a little because I was really scrawny and small. Thank you, Dennis Fitzpatrick. Yo, Coot got me out and I got beat up. Anyway, so I played football, I wrestled, and I ran track. And I always wished I could have played baseball, but it just seemed like that was a rich guy's sport, a rich kid's sport. I couldn't afford it, couldn't do it. And you had to be really good, and that means you had to put time and energy in, and your parents had to spend money and get you places, go hit the ball, et cetera. I couldn't do that. I lost my pop early, and there were other things that were more important than just going to play a sport. Anyway, so I'm a Dodger fan, and I'm kind of left over with that from my dad. Before he died, I'll never forget, we watched the 77 and 78 World Series together. And, you know, the Dodgers played the Yankees and lost both of those. And the Yankees won back-to-back, World Series titles in 77, 78. And my dad told me that, like, sabes que, mijo, and for those of you in English, that means, you know what? It's like a general, like, you know what? Sabes que, you know what? Yeah, I'm teaching you some Spanish today. Sabes que means, you know what? He said, you know what, mijo? There are a lot of sports out there and a lot of teams, a lot of baseball teams. He goes, but the Dodgers are our team. I mean, I saw a little kid, right? I asked, like, why? And he goes, because the Dodgers have a unique relationship with Mexican Americans. And I won't go into all of it here because that'd be a show on its own. And it's not a sports show tonight. But anyway, there's a long, good and bad history there with the Los Angeles Dodgers and Mexican America. Specifically, obviously, Southern California, Los Angeles and the Southern California area, California in general. And I do know fans that are in other states. So let me leave it there. But my point is that my dad made me a Dodger fan. And that's the only thing that he really made me be a fan of, right? So I was listening to baseball, and I watched some shows. For the record, I try to stay away from podcasts and other shows. I don't like doing that. I'd rather read. But some stuff you can't just read. You got to get, if it's breaking news, right? You get on a stream or a podcast. So I was watching Foul Territory. It is a show, and I've heard before you're not supposed to plug other shows. I don't give a shit. I'll say what I watch, and I do like I like the guys. Two of them are former players, good, and one's a journalist who covers. And so it's a good mix of dudes that cover the show. Anyway, so they said, it was breaking news that today, and if you're a baseball fan, then you probably heard this too, but if not, bear with me a little bit because it goes to the larger topic. The Major League Baseball Players Association, meaning the union for all the players, okay? The union for all the players in it. The executive director resigned. I think it's I want to say it's Tony Parker. If I'm wrong, correct me in the chat. Say Tony Parker. He was the executive director, basically the president of the union, and he resigned. Now, why am I bringing this up? One, because that doesn't happen very often. Usually a player head is there for a while. Even more so of note is that because this year they're going into a CBA bargaining. Collective bargaining agreement is CBA. That means the players sit down with the owners and they hammer out the things that they disagree on or agree on. And that is the new agreement going forward in writing that says, okay, this is how many years you have to be in the big leagues before you get to go to free agency. This is how much the minimum amount of money gets paid to a big leaguer. This is how many days off. This is how many games we play. Basically, it's union and ownership getting together to agree on the parameters of what that sport is and what they do in that year. So we're going into that collective bargaining period after this coming season is done, the 2026 season. Once it's done, I want to say November, December, after the World Series, then the two sides come together and then they argue, hash out, / agree on the new collective bargaining agreement going forward that binds the players and the owners together in what Major League Baseball is and how it goes about. So that's why it's important, is because you don't usually lose or see resign your president or executive director, whatever their title is for the MLBPA Players Association. You don't see someone resigning going into the year that you're going to negotiate. Obviously, you don't want that. You want something stable. You want someone who's been there. You want someone who's lobbied or argued and fought for you before. So that's different. Now, why is all that popping up on Supermax Nation today? And what does it have to do with American anarchy? Tony Parker, at least for right now, and this is as of today. Maybe I go home tonight, I watch a little more, and I find out more specifics. But as of a number of hours ago, when I watched this last, or I heard it last, he resigned, and they didn't give specifics as to like what his reason. I think that's going to come out. But basically, they're saying that he was under investigation. Before you go any crazy, don't. But he was under investigation from the FBI and the Department of Justice. Okay? Stay with me, because this is going to get real heady, and it's going to hurt your head a little bit. All from this, right? All from this. You can be like one of my former students in the classroom. They didn't know what they were getting into. We got into the 45th, 50th minute, and their heads were hurting. Then they went out of my class, and they're like, wow. We don't know yet, but we do know that, and it has been said and reported, that he, possibly more, were under investigation from the FBI and the DOJ, Department of Justice, the Federal Bureau of Investigation, and Department of Justice. Okay, so for the record, make sure we're clear. If Tony Parker, the head of the Players Association, did something illegal, wrong, bad, broke the law, did something that he wasn't supposed to, then by all means, fry him up. Clear? Give a shit if he's Democrat, Republican, black, green, orange, brown, does not matter. Okay? And law is law, injustice to one is an injustice to all. Do what you got to do. However, and this is where the however comes in. If you're really paying attention and watching like deep, if you're going to be one of my viewers and listeners going forward, I'm going to hurt your head a little bit with the volume of stuff that you have to maintain focus on and with. And it's going to be hard, and it's going to be volume and voluminous, because you've got your own life. You've got regular things you deal with. If you're one of my former students, you live in the life, you're working, dealing with crap at your job, raising kids, picking them up from practice, paying for school clothes, trying to keep them off that phone as much as they are, trying to get them to read a book. You've got a life, and there's a lot that goes into living a good life. It takes a lot of work and time and effort, right? And then all this other stuff that's going on governmentally, socially, culturally, is just never ending and nonstop. There's always some new bullshit coming up. There's always something that pops up on your screen. And it's like, the anxiety becomes pervasive. It's like nonstop and never ending. In addition to your own life, in addition to your own issues in your own world. Here's my thought. Here's my belief with regard to this particular item here. The Players Association executive director resigning. And again, I'm not going to go too far out on the limb because I can't get too far over the skis. Cool metaphors. But I've already said, if he's done something wrong, illegal, bad, then do what you got to do. But I'm noticing and I'm seeing by volume and by paying attention and by watching and taking in massive amounts of information, not good, a lot of it. And I can't help but prepare myself and wonder for what's coming and what still isn't out yet and what we're still going to be bombarded with, because it's a lot and it's hard to handle. And at some point you just check out and you just believe what you're told. And therein lies the issue. Therein lies the problem. Just believing what you're told because someone said it, instead of intellectually layering the information you're taking in, parsing it, filtering it, separating good from bad. My apologies if you're just listening to it because you can't see my hands moving, working, and trying to get you to understand what it is you need to be doing in terms of what you're taking in intellectually, in viewing and listening, etc. It's a lot. So I'm going to give you this, and we'll pin it right now, and I may even put this into the chat later when I get home and I go back over the video. This is one big, information and information disbursement, propaganda, and moving people culturally, societally, using media, visual and audio, is a science and a skill. And in many cases, it's done for specific reasons to get you to do things or get you to buy things, get you to believe things. It's an intellectual trap. Okay. Let's get real business here. Let's get real business-like and serious. It's a trap. It's a trap. It's an intellectual trap. It's meant to trap your mind in a form of control to move you or to get you to believe or to get you to act a certain way. So I'm going to give you this. First step into, I'm going to give you a line. The only way to avoid or defeat a trap is to know of its existence in advance. Okay? So watch this. I'm arming you. I'm preparing you. If you're already there, great. I applaud you, and I'm thankful that you are. But if you're not, if you're listening and you don't know, you heard the term, take it with a grain of salt, right? That just means be cautious, be careful, don't just believe it out of hand, right? And that's good information. That's a good practice. But the only way to avoid the intellectual trap that is being laid for the American people, you included if you're watching this, listening to this, is to know of its existence. So what am I telling you? I'm telling you that I believe in advance. Watch this. I believe in advance that they're trying to trick me, fool me, or get me to do something that is not good for me, that I don't want to, that I don't believe, that is wrong, that is just wrong. So I'm going to believe up front that they're trying to do that. See how that is? And that is a form of pessimism, right? Not optimism. But when it comes to government, the founding fathers kind of instituted that. They influxed that and those wordings into the document. A healthy questioning of government, a healthy disbelief in the man is good for you. A grain of salt is good for you. Not a lot of salt, by the way. I'm not a big salt guy, but a grain of salt is good for you. Believing that people are laying traps for you to get more of your dollar is a good thing. Believing people are out there trying to mislead you to not pay attention to something because it's evil, bad, or wrong is a good thing. And let me hammer this point home you know the rule. If I'm a hammer, everything I see is a nail, right? I see a lot of nails. I uniformly believe that absolute power corrupts absolutely. I do believe that because we've gotten way too many examples of the case as is. And there wouldn't be that line, by the way, if it wasn't, at least partially true, if not wholly true. I uniformly disbelieve or distrust government in general. Now, watch this. If I disbelieve and I think something's wrong or evil, they're trying to do something bad, and it turns out they were always doing something good, then damn it, I'm happy. I am thankful. Awesome. Great. Love it. Nothing but love for it. But until I see that, I'm going to disbelieve. I'm telling viewers of Supermex Nation right now, a healthy bit of skepticism, a grain of salt, believing there are traps out there intellectually for you, for your mind, in listening, in viewing, watching a podcast, watching a show, watching YouTube, whatever. Believe up front. And for the record, I've actually said that about my show too. Fact check me, second guess me, correct me. And again, as I've said before, if I'm willing to say that to you about myself, the odds go up that I may have to abide by that and try to do it right and be right about how I go about my business with you. Trying not to deceive you, trying to arm you, trying to inform you, trying to educate you, trying to teach you how to be prepared for intellectual traps that are set by people that you have no control over, and they have a massive amount of control of you in what you see, what you hear, what you eat, what you breathe, where you live, how much you pay for a mortgage, how much you pay for rent. I can go on and on and on and on and on, and it'll never end, because if you're listening to this show, you're probably not that guy in control of everything. Okay? So, quote on that, the only way to avoid an intellectual trap is to know of its existence. Arm yourself up front, disbelieve up front, including me. Prove me wrong. If you find that I'm right, then you're probably going to come back and say, God damn it, that dude told me the truth, and he told me to second guess and question him too. Because if I'm willing to do that, it's because I believe in what I'm doing, and I'm not trying to, and I want you to find out if I'm wrong, and if I'm wrong, then correct me and I'll correct it. Not very many people on any show is willing to say that. I will. Okay, the only way to avoid a trap, an intellectual trap, is to know of its existence. Okay, back to this point here, and then we're going to finish toward the wrap up. But I'm arming you with a lot. When we finish this show tonight, if you go back and listen, you're going to like, whoa, that was a lot, but got to parse out, and I got to streamline it so where it's something that you walk away with knowing after the show is done. What did I learn from that show tonight? I learned that tonight, the only way to avoid an intellectual trap of people trying to confuse, bamboozle, play games with me and play games with my mind is to know that they're doing it and to disbelieve them and second guess them up front. Okay, so that's one. Why do I think paying attention to the MLB Players Association executive director resigning is important? Here we go. We're going to finish this, not right now, but we're finishing toward the back end here. It's important because the FBI and the DOJ are currently doing things that are illegal and wrong. Let's tie this point together to the beginning of the show. The Department of Justice has already broken the law. Yes, you heard me correctly. The Department of Justice, right? There you go. That's almost like non sequitur, oxymoronic. Non sequitur means non sequitur. It means it does not follow. It does not make sense that the Department of Justice, our Department of Justice, is breaking the law. Why? Because there's not a damn thing we can do about it. I can't make the Department of Justice follow and abide by the law. And you're saying, well, how did they break the law? I already said, if you're paying attention earlier, they were supposed to have released the entirety of the Epstein files, the Trump-Epstein files, the Trumpstein files, Mid-December. No, it wasn't a law that said, give us 5 files, give us 10 files, give us 20 files. As long as you have it all wrapped up before Donald Trump is out of office, we're fine. No. The law, not anarchy in America, the law in America stated that the Epstein Trump files were supposed to be released in December, mid-December, all of it. Not pieces, not parts, not some files, not redacted, nothing. It was supposed to be released. So the Department of Justice, and make it black and white here, the Department of Justice has already broken the damn law. Period. And the non sequitur, it does not follow. That's Latin for it does not follow, because it doesn't make sense. This is the Department of Justice. They're in charge of the law. They're supposed to take the Congress's laws and enforce them, enact them, make them go, make them work, make them abided by the American people. That's anarchy. Get it? Anarchy in America, our own special form of American anarchy. Because you're not seeing this to the same degree by any legit Western civilized country that at least attempts the appearance of being a law-abiding, law-enforcing entity as a government for its people. We are so black and white not that me titling a show American Anarchy is confusing in some ways. Like, But as I'm breaking this down and as I've given you this explanation and all these words for a good 40, 45 minutes now, this is anarchy. This is lawlessness that we are living with and currently today. The President of the United States is the chief executive officer. The very word executor, is someone that's supposed to execute the laws, not violate or break them. Donald Trump violates and breaks the law as he gets out of bed in the morning. The Department of Justice breaks the law. Back to the MLBPA president resigning, director resigning. Why does this matter? And this is the hardest part, and this is where we're going to finish because this is going to be difficult. This is intellectual work, by the way. And if you're staying with me, damn it, I'm going to give you a thumbs up and an applause because this is difficult material. This is hard. This isn't something you can just get in a conversation or a soundbite on a bullshit podcast. The Department of Justice, the FBI, and others are going to bombard you and give you mountains of information and content and material to process in the form of, look at what we're doing. We are enforcing the law. We're doing things that the Biden department or all the other presidents before us never did. We're cracking down on illegals. We're getting rid of immigrants that shouldn't be here. We're catching people embezzling money or extorting or doing evil shit all over the country. Now watch this. If the guy who's in charge of the Major League Baseball Players Association, again, reiterate the point, if he did something wrong, illegal, bad, then he needs to pay a price for it. Now, this is the intellectual, difficult work that if you're a Supermax Nation member, watcher, viewer, this is where you earn your pay. Whatever that is. All right? It's not like you're getting paid. But your intellectual pay. This is a thinking man and woman show. You have to separate the evil shit that's going on in America that the FBI or the DOJ or other parts of Trump America and Trump government decide to prosecute and find that are wrong. If there's a pedophile, there's a pedophile out there and the FBI director Kash Patel finds them and puts them in prison and fries that guy for the rest of his life, good. And here's the hard part for you, my listener, my viewer. But that does not mean it's okay to excuse the evil shit that they're doing at the same time. Very specific. I used the word pedophile, right? Because while Kash Patel, the FBI director, Pam Bondi, kind of his boss, the Department of Justice head, Attorney General, they're going to tell you, oh, look, we're cracking down on those, the Major League Baseball Players Union cheating their players out of money. I don't know that yet. We'll see. There's going to be something. They did this, therefore they're bad. Look at how good we are. We're doing things that have never been done before. And for the record, maybe they do. But the hard intellectual part for you, my listener, my viewer, is to parse out, filter, and separate good and bad. If one good thing is done, does that absolve 10 bad things over here? The answer is, and I'm making this really simple, by the way, for my viewer, my listener. The answer is no. I don't give a shit if you do one good thing. That's your damn job, by the way. You get paid taxpayer money to run around on planes, go to hotels, other countries, live off the public dime, live off American taxpayer dollars. That is your damn job. Don't brag and tell me how great you are. I don't want to hear it. Do your damn job. Stop bragging about it and talking about it. And I sure as hell don't want to hear it if you're breaking the law on the other side. Because one right here does not excuse the wrong. And to finish overall here, to educate you, my listener, my viewer that have been here this entire time, that watch to the end. Again, these shows are not easy to watch to the end because they're difficult. And I don't do shiny, cool stuff to gather your attention that way. This is meat and potatoes material here. This is hard stuff to internalize, process, and then to actively use. You have to be aware of the trap. The trap is simple. Mountainous amounts of material, stuff. Oh, look at all we've done. Look at this. Look at that. While they cover the other stuff. And it's not easy. They're overloading you. And being overloaded is not an easy thing to go forward with in retaining information and to understanding and to not being caught up in the trap of going down that rabbit hole where you just believe everything they say. And then you become so inured to it that you just repeat or do whatever it is they say that they want you to do, which is the way they want it. So they can excuse, and so you will not be aware of, or you'll not open your mouth about the evil things that are being done, the bad things that are being done. And again, I used the word pedophile, right? So if Kash Patel, Pam Bondi, or Donald Trump, on their watch, they catch a pedophile, does that mean they are good? And does that mean it's okay for them to hide pedophiles and a pedophilia ring and a pedophilia system that is decades old and still current and still out there right now? Does that make it okay? The answer is obviously, it's a rhetorical question. No, it doesn't. But you need to be smart enough up front with that grain of salt, up front, that disbelief, knowing of the intellectual trap in advance, knowing they're trying to play tricks on you. They're trying to fool you. They're trying to pull one over on you. They're trying to bombard you with so much information. You get fed up and tired and you don't want to even talk about it anymore. Maybe you know that they're evil. Maybe you know that, but you're just tired of so much bullshit. You don't even want to deal with it anymore and you don't say anything. And again, therein lies the trap. That's part of it. When you get so sick and tired of it, you don't want to hear anymore. You don't want to say anything. You don't want to do anything. You fall into the trap. Good people. I'm not talking about the ass kissers and bootlickers. They're going to do what they do. They're just going to be lemmings, be shills, and just follow the shepherd right off the damn cliff. I'm not talking about those people. They are stupid because they willingly, knowingly go down that road. They choose to. I'm saying for my listener, my viewer, it is not easy. It is hard. No one ever said being good is easy. Being evil is easy. Let me make sure I'm clear about that. Being evil, that's easy work. Being good is not easy work. But for all the evil that there is, there needs to be at least as much good and good people that will not take it and that will actually say something and will not just put their head down and not disappear and not be quiet, stay silent. It's not enough. Okay. Let me finish here. This is not entirely all that I wanted to do with tonight, but it was important that we did tonight this way. For those of you, and the numbers are beginning to grow in terms of the people that are watching and listening and viewing, this is not like anything that I've seen on a YouTube show that way, dealing with these topics, these items, because I'm actively working on preparing your mind for the traps, the intellectual dishonesty, the games, the volume, and all of the above that makes it harder for you to separate the good from the bad that you see and to stay that good person. Okay? So, reminder on keep an eye on, and again, I'm not going too far too deep here, and again, we're wrapping up now, but not going too far on the Major League Baseball Players Association president or director, I think it's director, resigning due to, again, don't know specifics, but due to, and this was put out, due to investigations by the Department of Justice and the FBI. Okay? And again, if there is something that he did wrong, then he should pay a price for it. What I'm telling you as my viewer, my listener, pay attention to this one because it's indicative of a lot more. Maybe we'll get into it another show. But there are going to be other things like this that we see. Not just sport, but entertainment. The Kennedy Center thing has become a joke, by the way. What's going on with that? I won't get into it now, but there are going to be other aspects of our life, our culture, our civilizational approach with United States, people in it. Be a prepared mind. Be aware of the trap and prepare yourself for it by knowing that it's there. I think there's something coming here. Not just that someone did something bad, but I think that this is going to be another rationale for the Department of Justice, the FBI, or other aspects of the Trump government to keep our eyes off the Trumpstein files for sure, but to keep an eye off of all the other illegalities and wrongdoings that are going on. There's a lot. So they're going to bombard us with a lot. We have to stay focused and disciplined. Again, reminder, the only way to avoid an intellectual trap, remember these lines, the only way to avoid an intellectual trap is to know of its existence. Someone's trying to trap you, someone's trying to trick you, someone's trying to bait you. And I will go further and again, treat in the topical fashion, a one-off, a one-item episode show on the Trump Epstein files. You ask why? Because Trump is in it more than anybody other than Epstein. And I don't believe that he had nothing. I don't believe he had nothing to do with it. Clearly, that's beyond the pale, right? Even stupid people wouldn't go that far. They'll make other excuses. So we'll do that this coming Tuesday or Thursday. But I'm leaving this on your plate here. Be aware of the intellectual traps and the games that are being played right now and question them up front. Make them prove you wrong. Watch that. That's about as American as it gets. Make the government prove you wrong. Make the government prove that they are doing the right things. And for the record, you don't get paid to do that. The people in those positions get paid taxpayer dollars to do that. So the onus is not on you. The onus is on them. We pay their taxpayer-funded salaries and flights and jets and all the other stuff that they do on our public dime. The onus is on them. It's their responsibility, not ours. If you make any responsibility, and this is my last spot for tonight, as an American, Mexican-American, anybody in this country, your obligation, your duty, your responsibility is to question that ass up front and all the damn time, and make them prove you're wrong. Make them prove you that they're doing the right job. Make them prove to you that they're doing what they're supposed to be. But until then, I will question that ass up, down, left, and right until I die. That's our show for tonight. I'll see you this coming Thursday. Look forward to you. I don't do this enough, but I need to do it now. Like, share, subscribe, all that. Our number is going to begin to slowly increase as I get more consistent. And we do want more people educating. Nothing that I've said tonight is wrong. Nothing that I've said is untrue. If anything, it's really good information for you to pay attention to and listen to, and to get others to do the same. That's Supermax Nation. I'll see you this coming Thursday.